When I jungle someone's home, I want them to feel amazing every time they walk in the door. I really wanted it to be jungle, but that was already taken. So I thought Soflo is South Florida, and I love South Florida, and that's where the business is most of the time. So I came up with Jungle Soflo. I think it's really fitting. I love jungle energy, jungle vibes. I have a lot of plants. I have a lot of mess on this balcony with all these flowers and everything. There's always leaves blowing around everywhere. So usually every day after my tea, I have some energy. I start sweeping, and then I start the watering, trimming. I work on my bonsai, and then I get on my computer and I start making plans for homes for my clients. Generally, when I'm doing projects, I like to add a few rare plants, some exotic plants that maybe you don't see every day. Of course, they're more expensive and they're harder to find, but I think that really makes me stand out from other people that are in this business. A little bit of a wow factor. I've gotten a lot of inspiration from Greece and from Costa Rica and from Colombia and just a lot of different countries that I've been to where you get to see like, wow, they have completely different plants. So if I could find those here and I could find the right sellers and growers, it's perfect because I form a relationship with them and then I'm able to sell these plants here as well. Growing up in New York, obviously it wasn't tropical like here in Miami, but my grandma had a huge house, like a really big house. And she had this one room that was all windows, it was all glass, and it was filled with plants. And I remember being little and just being super interested in like all the little propagation she had and all these things, but I didn't really know anything about it. But I did spend a lot of time in that room. And then later on, another trip, I went to Scotland with my family, and it was really cool because I saw these huge plants, like these leaves were 4 feet tall, and I don't even think I was 4 feet tall at that time. So for me, the plants were bigger than me, and it was really cool, and that definitely sparked an interest. The last thing that like really got me hooked onto plants was going to the Botanical Garden in Prospect Park in New York. And that was literally the first time I ever stopped to smell the flowers, like actually in my life, that I ever stopped and just smelt the flowers and appreciated the beauty. And I was like, wow, like, that's insane. I graduated college and I really didn't want to use my degree. I wasn't interested in what I studied, but I got a degree because my parents wanted me to, you know. I was like, how could I work with plants? Like, how could I make this work? And during this time I was managing restaurants and I really hated it. I was working so many hours. I went to Tulum, Mexico for my brother's birthday, and he invited a lot of his friends that are entrepreneurs. And they were like, you know, like, we'll be your first clients. If you want to work with plants, if you want to design our home, like, we'll be your first clients. And I was like, what, me? Like, who am I, you know? I didn't have the confidence at the time, but I knew that I knew how to take care of plants and where to find them and how to do the installation and everything. So I charged them like nothing. And then I really was starting to make a business plan, and I spent a lot of time with my brother, and he was teaching me how to become an entrepreneur. And I was trying to just sharpen the axe of like, what's the absolute thing, the best thing that I can do? Because I love design and I love plants, but I don't necessarily want to have a big landscaping company. I don't want to have a plant shop. So I kept doing this slowly, you know, getting into it, getting some clients on the side, but I really didn't have enough time working full time. And then one day, my dad passed away, completely unexpectedly. And I was just devastated. So I called my boss and I said, I'm so sorry, but I'm never coming back to work. That day, the day my dad passed, I said, I'm done. I can't come back. I took 2 months to kind of get my life together again. And then I made my LLC and I got my insurance and I started my ads. I started running all these beautiful ads for plants and the clients just kept coming in, and it's just been a blessing ever since. After my dad's passing, the recovery was very rough, and I saw, you know, a lot of people would fall out of routines and they'd get really depressed. I know you could see it in their face, like people just look different and they look really bad. And I said, I'm not gonna let that happen. I refuse to let that happen. Having my plants really kept me on a schedule, kept me on a routine that I couldn't miss because then they would die, and I didn't want to lose my plants too. So being able to take that time and also, you know, focusing on creating a business with the plants, doing something that I loved was spectacular for me. But just knowing that I think I had like 75 plants at the time in my 1-bedroom apartment, and I was like, I cannot let them die because they are all I have left right now. It's just how I felt in the moment, you know? Just having this life around me was so important. I always say, like, to my clients, like, I want to add vibrance to your sanctuary because your home should feel like a sanctuary. And if it doesn't feel vibrant, then that's not a happy place to live. When I first moved to Miami about 7 years ago, I would go and just buy a bunch of plants because there were so many tropical plants just available everywhere. So I would go and buy them and I'd put them all over my apartment and I killed every single one, repeatedly. I would do this like every 6 months. I would go spend all this money, buy so many plants and then kill them. And I had no idea how to take care of them, but I just thought they were so beautiful. So one day, I think it was like around the cusp of COVID, I was like, you know what, let me like research how to actually take care of them and maybe they'll do well. And then I got super into it. And then COVID hit and forget about it. I mean, from then on, I just became obsessed and I learned how to propagate everything and grow. And I was sharing plants with friends and they were sharing plants with me. And I just got really good at it, paying attention to the soil and what plant needed what light, what's an indoor plant, what's an outdoor plant, how to fertilize, everything. Being surrounded by so much life is so important to me. And I've gotten a lot of friends into plants as well, and they feel the same exact way, you know. I bring them tons of plants and fill up their space and teach them how to take care of them correctly, obviously, and they've just become obsessed, and they're like, I can't believe I ever lived a life without plants. So in 10 years, I would like to see jungle doing jobs all around the world. I would love to be jungling in every continent.